Okay, so continuing off from what we last worked on, we were looking at conditional probabilities using the formula. Now we're going to see how we can do this, or we can find conditional probabilities using two-way tables. And this is a lot friendlier. This is very similar, or it's actually the exact thing that we did in Chapter 1, but we just didn't know that it was called conditional probability in Chapter 1. So here we're going to see how we can find conditional probabilities whenever we're given a table like this. So for conditional probabilities, we're always given some condition or some information, and then we're trying to find the probability of an event occurring given that additional knowledge. So we're going to go ahead and look at this example. Here we want to find the probability that a student biked to school given that the student was a female. So in this case, our given condition is that the student has to be a female. And so the total for female is now going to become our denominator because we're limiting we're limiting our group to just females. And so here 154 becomes our denominator. And then after that, so we're looking for the probability that a student biked to school given that they're a female. So we're looking at this rule specifically. And then we're looking at wherever biking intersects with female. And so bike and female intersect at 7. So here we know that out of the 154 female students, 7 of them biked to school. So 7 becomes our numerator. And that's our answer for part A right here. So the probability that a student biked to school, given that the student was a female, is 7 out of 154. So I'm just going to go ahead and briefly explain how we found that again. So here, our given condition is that the student is a female. So female total becomes our denominator because we're looking specifically at female students. Out of these 154, 7 of them biked to school, which is how we obtained our answer over here. Now, part B, we want to find the probability that a student is a male given that they took the bus to school. So like before, we have a condition criteria. The condition is that they took the bus to school. So here, we're looking at the row or column with bus. In this case, it's a column. The bus total becomes our denominator. And then out of those who took the bus, we see that 23 of them are male students. And so our answer becomes 23 out of 55. Finally, our last example right here, we want to find the probability that a student walked to school given that the student was a female. And so this is different from what we had before. So what we had before was bike to school. This is talking about walking to school. So again, our given condition is that the student has to be a female. So once again, we're looking at the row or column with female. That total becomes our denominator. Out of the 154 women, or the 154 female, how many of them walked to school? We find that 25 of them walked to school. So our answer to this problem is 25 over 154. So the probability that a student walked to school, given that the student is a female, is 25 over 154.